Uh, Welcome everyone. Welcome to the last week, the last battle of Rosé Box. As you probably noticed, there's a week off next week. So this is the fourth Wednesday, 30th is the fifth Wednesday, and then as you know, whenever we have 5 Wednesdays in a month, we take 1 week off. So next week we're going to be off, and then we're going to be back on the 7th of May with the first week of Chile box. So going back to Chile, got some really delicious Chile stuff, some good Pinot, some pais in different styles. It's gonna be cool. It's a fun box. So that's all starting on the 7th, and the 6th is the pickup day. So just putting that on your radar. Next week we will be off. On that note, this week, this Saturday, is wine prom. Pew pew, woo. Lights, lights, confetti, confetti. For those of you who are attending, which everybody on this call is at the moment, get ready because it's going to be. Oh no, Kyler and Margaret are coming this year. But anyways, most of you are coming, so get ready. It'll be fun. As always, you all should have got an email from me. I sent it out earlier this week, like yesterday, 2 days ago. If you have purchased tickets, but you did not get an email from me for the final details of Wine Prom, let me know, because that means either I somehow fucked up and didn't count you in or something like sideways. I mean, I can still get you in, but I'm just let me know if you have not gotten my email.
Not going. We're going, right?
You are going?
Yes, we are. We paid.
All right.
You said
hold on. See?
Boone, maybe you should be nervous after all.
Sorry, Kyla, I have you down. You know what it was? For some reason, I had you down for 1. But I caught that earlier when I was counting all the final numbers. So yeah, down for 2.
Margaret would be very sad if I just went by myself.
Yeah, no, I got you. Kyler, Margaret, I got you in. Sorry, I did not mean to. So everybody on the screen are coming. Great, fantastic. So in case you didn't see the email, there's been a change in, not that this is a huge matter to you, I don't know, maybe it is, but the catering changed. So we are no longer being catered by Tiger Fork, we're being catered by Ban Siam. In case you are not familiar with Ban Siam, it is, in my opinion, the best Thai restaurant in the city. So that's going to be great. And then I am still looking for a photographer. Again, doesn't have to be a professional photographer, just somebody who wants to drink and eat and party with us and just take pictures of us being stupid. So if you know anybody with a nice camera who likes taking pictures and wants to come eat and drink for free with us, I'll be all about that. So let me know. And if you have any questions about Wine Prom, logistics, and all of that, but all of you are veterans. You guys have been there many times at this point. You know what to expect. So all that. One last announcement is the next month enrollment invoices all went up. So if you're joining us next month, go ahead and take care of that. If you're not, just let me know, just so I can wrap that up. I'm probably gonna hound some people tomorrow because I need to get that all wrapped up this week. Like this weekend is gonna be crazy, so I'm not gonna be able to get on it, but I'm gonna have to process all the wines on Monday. So I would like to get it all done by Friday. So if you still have invoices outstanding, take care of it, or just let me know by tomorrow. That'd be great. Or Friday at the latest. And in case you did not hear, next month we're gonna do Chile box. So yeah. Last but not least, we are donating to WAMU 88.5 this month. It is a American University studio. It's our public studio radio station. That's where we got our NPR from. So if you want to donate alongside 6 Foot Wine Club, the links are right there. If you want to learn more about it, it's all in there as well. Any questions about any of that? Wine Prom, next month, any of it before we get into the wine? Excellent. Hearing none, let's get into the wine. You should be on the last bottle of the month, but we got this one. So 2023 Torre de Beati Rosa-se Cerasuolo di Abruzzo is what we got. So let's start with the map. Here we go. So we're in Italy. There's that boot, right? And where we are is in central Italy. I guess technically still considered southern Italy, but I consider it a central Italy. While I was reading about it today, some article was saying that they consider Abruzzo to be south, but I don't know. To me, this is very central. But anyways, central, south Italy is right here. This is where we are. Abruzzo. That's sweet. As you can see, it's right on the Adriatic Ocean. And as you can imagine, it's also very mountainous here. Known for its kind of rugged terrain. 65% of its terrain is mountains. I actually did not know that. I didn't realize Abruzzo, just knowing the style of the wine there, I just thought it was much hotter and flatter, but it's actually quite mountainous. See, I'm still learning something new every day. The Adriatic Sea to the east, as you can imagine, provides a lot of moderating influence, right? Big body of water. And this being very much a Mediterranean kind of a area. The climate here is, again, very Mediterranean. So mild winter, warm summer, plenty of sunlight, kind of arid, though. So there's a huge mountain range that run, as you can see in this map. You see this kind of a lovely map on the west. So a lot of kind of storm front that comes from the west gets caught in this mountain, so it doesn't dump. However, any weather front that comes in from the east also gets stuck on this mountain and dumps here. It doesn't happen all that often, but time to time, like I remember 2012, 2013, somewhere in the early 2010s, Abruzzo got like shit ton of water, shit ton of rain. A lot of vineyards flooded, and then they had a really watery kind of a disastrous vintage. And a lot of that can happen, but in general, it's a pretty dry area, Mediterranean climate, very mountainous, very rugged. It's kind of an area. As you can see right here, Montepulciano di Abruzzo, Montepulciano and Trebbiano. These two are the kind of the main grape varieties here. Chardonnay, Sangiovese do play some role here. Sangiovese particularly can be used as a blending grape as well here, especially being so close to Tuscany here. But Montepulciano and Trebbiano is really what Abruzzo is known for. It is the 7th most productive wine regions in Italy. So when you think of it that way, it's quite a significant amount of wine that's being made here. But only about like 20%, just over 21% is made under the DOC designation. So a lot of just kind of a commercial bulk wine used for blending. They're actually sold to other neighboring regions. So a lot of their wines get sold to Tuscany, as well as all the way up to Piedmont and Veneto as a kind of blending bulk wine to negociants. So they'll blend it and just kind of sell it as a basic table wine, Italian table wine. So a lot of that comes from here. And it's kind of like, Central California of US. It's just the land here is very fertile. It's a perfect climate, right? Mediterranean for vines. So it just does very well in terms of a yield. So they just grow a shit ton of grapes here. They make a lot of wine, but again, only about 20%, less than a quarter of it is under the DOC designation. Here in the States particularly, Montepulciano di Abruzzo is the most well-known one. Definitely one of the most widely exported DOC wines from all of Italy, this Montepulciano di Abruzzo. Particularly here to the United States, a lot of it comes to the States. But it's also, if you ever heard of wine called Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, that's from Tuscany, it has no relations. So Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, there's a town called Montepulciano in Tuscany, and it is a wine made from Sangiovese. So a lot of times people get that confused, Montepulciano di Abruzzo and Vino Nobile di Montepulciano, but the Vino Nobile di Montepulciano is a Tuscan wine that is made, that is Sangiovese based. The Montepulciano di Abruzzo is the one that's made from the actual grape variety called Montepulciano, which we'll cover in a second. Probably the most famous and the sought after producer from this region is Emilio Pepe. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that name, but that is like almost like a unicorn wine. It's really hard to get your hands on. If you ever get a bottle of Emilio Pepe floating on somewhere, you should get your hands on it because it rarely ever makes it into retail because it all gets snatched up in allocation and collectors usually get it. So if you ever see it, get it. Not cheap, but it's something worth checking out. The particular town that this producer is called Loreto Abruzzo. Found out it looks like this. I mean, look how beautiful that is, right? All that mountain range in the back, all the vineyards rolling through. Again, I always thought Abruzzo was just kind of like a flat area, just knowing the kind of wine that comes from there, which are Montepulciano de Abruzzo, which is these like big extracted, really can get really high in alcohol as well. So I thought it was just like a very warm and flat place. But turns out it's got some elevations, especially if you go high up on the slopes. You can get some really wide diagonal shift. And then Trebbiano as well, which is usually, I call it a kind of like a Chardonnay's cousin. It's kind of like a big, full-bodied white wine. So the wines being from here tend to be really big. So I always thought it was really hot, but no, I was wrong. This is what the place looks like. Here's Gran Sasso, which is the big mountain here. Again, it's really beautiful. This is where, like right up against this mountain on the foothill is essentially where this wine is. There you go. There's a town of the where winery from their vineyards looking onto the town that it is. There's a church right here, as you can see, cathedral. Is essentially what this wine is named after. The Torre de Beati is named after a 14th century fresco, kind of a mural painting inside this church that showcases a Tower of the Blessed. That's what Torre de Beati means. Tower of the Blessed as like the ultimate kind of a goal, the ending point for the souls. And they named the wine after that. So this is the church. The mural painting inside is what this is after, but this is what the kind of town looks like. So I don't know. Looking at this picture, it makes me really want to go to Abruzzo. I feel like it's a beautiful area, very scarcely parts, very rural. But yeah. But what we are tasting today is not a Montepulciano di Abruzzo. It is Cerasuolo di Abruzzo. Cerasuolo di Abruzzo. It's an Italian DOC classification. If you want to know how it's spelled, it's in the back label, by the way. It says it right there. Cerasuolo di Abruzzo. Italian DOC classification for a Rosato style wine, which is rosé wine in Italian, made from Montepulciano grape. So this is what they call Montepulciano rosé, hence the name rosé. Instead of calling it Rosato, just to kind of be funny with it, but yeah, that's what that means. Cerasuolo, by the way, literally means cherry red in Italian, and as you can see, the color on this wine, it's kind of looks like that. It's quite fitting. Mention about the Tower of the Blessed, the fresco painting that inspired all of this. Oh, here's another picture from them collecting, harvesting olives. Yeah, here's that church that we're talking about. So these are the folks who make the wine. This is Adriana on the right, and Fausto on the left. They started in 1999, so that's super long. But from the beginning, they were very much focused on quality, very careful site selection, meticulous sorting of the fruit in the cellar. I've had their wines in the past, their Trebbiano as well as Montepulciano Abruzzo. I was always really impressed by their kind of freshness in their wine. It was something very different for me. And then learning about where they are, what kind of care they take, it makes sense why their wine is so different from the kind of run-of-the-mill Abruzzo wines. Like I mentioned, Abruzzo has a very fertile soil, even up in the mountain slopes. They do a lot of pruning and green harvesting to intentionally keep their yield down. We talked about green harvesting, right? When the fruits are green and still not ripe, they'll go around and intentionally prune off the fruit, the unripe bunches, just so that, and reducing the yield, just so that the rest of the grapes that are hanging there can get riper and can get all the kind of the vine's energy to develop. So yeah, it's kind of a quality control practice that a lot of quality focused producers practice, but they definitely do that here. They also harvest, I learned that they harvest in passes. So they pick just a few ripe ones per vine and then leave the rest to ripen longer. Then they come back 5 to 6 times usually to optimize the ripeness of each berry. So that's a lot of passes. That's a lot of work to go through 17 hectares of vineyards. So again, Fausto and Adriana, very much people who are focused on quality of their wines. So yeah, husband and wife team. Fausto's father-in-law, so Adriana's father, Rocco, planted the first Torre de Beati vineyard in 1972, but he didn't make any wine. He just grew them and then he sold them, and mostly to these negociants that I was telling you about. But then in 1999, he handed over 7 hectares with no equipment and kind of a destroyed old house on the property to Adriana and Fausto. And then they immediately got to work and started converting the vineyards to organic farming starting in 2000, so literally the year after, and started growing and expanding. And now they farm 17 hectares close to that Gran Cerro that I showed you pictures of, to the mountains. And then their vineyards are a little bit higher than the rest. They're perched up on about 300 meters of elevation. So cool air from the mountain and the sea and the elevation gives their wines that kind of freshness that I was telling you about, that kind of diurnal shift that comes in, and then which is often missing in Abruzzo. From what I read, from their vineyard, their summer temperature, just to give you an idea how wide it can swing, can range from high of like 86 degrees in the summer to low of like 41 degrees in a day in the summertime. So it's quite a bit of a range. That's a 40-degree difference, more than 40-degree difference in terms of temperature day and nighttime during summer, which is exactly why they're able to keep this kind of freshness in their wine. All right, what is this one? By the way, this is Montepulciano. This is what the grape bunch looks like. As you can see, pretty thick skin, a lot of color. Yeah, so that's what that is. 100% certified organic Montepulciano in this bottle, all grown on calcareous clay, which just means a limestone and clay. Sometimes it can be chalk, but yeah, chalk is a type of limestone, so calcareous clay. 300 to 500 meter elevation, like I mentioned, big diurnal shift, freshness is all about. Thick skin, late ripening variety that can produce really deeply colored wine. If you ever gotten, I'm sure you've all had Montepulciano d'Abruzzo. I mean, if you go to any Italian restaurant in America, you cannot not find Montepulciano d'Abruzzo. But the problem with that, I usually find with that, is that without a careful control, it can get really high in alcohol. It can get really high in tannin, a lot of phenolics, a lot of color. It can be really deep, and then acid can drop off quite dramatically. So if you let it ripen too long, it can get this really big and just heavy without any acid backbone. But when you are farming it correctly, like these guys are, you can still get this like really fresh. Though it's a big wine, big burly wines, but can get a lot of freshness out of it. But this is just kind of a purity. If you ever wanted to see what Montepulciano tastes like, this is kind of it. I mean, this is all stainless steel. There's no wood here. 50% saignée, so after cold maceration. So they bring the grapes in, they sort it through the table, and then they crush it, and then they let it macerate on the skins at a very low temperature. The temperature is too low for the fermentation to begin. That's just to kind of extract a little bit of color, aromas as well. So any wine that you're trying to, anytime you hear cold soak, you can basically imagine that it's going to be aromatically very delicate, because that's the whole point of cold soaking, is that to put it in there to extract all of that aroma compounds. So 50% cold pre-maceration, saignée, because they also make Montepulciano. I'm assuming the rest of it goes into their red bottling. And then the other half is actually direct press a whole bunch of it. So they take Montepulciano in, they just press it off the skins right away. So it's like half saignée, half kind of like white wine made from black grapes, like the Blanc de Noir kind of a deal happening here. So again, like not really what we think of as a rosé, right? It's either saignée or maceration, but it doesn't really matter where it is. But yeah, just know that this is 50% saignée and 50% direct press. And as you can see, the color is probably the darkest of out of all four of them that we had this year. And this is kind of stuff that really, I've always thought that kind of like makes you wonder, like, is this rosé or is this light red? Or where does a rosé end? Where does a red begin? And that was the whole point of this kind of this month, that rosé in a way is this kind of like an arbitrary thing, right? Like there's no clear definition of what a rosé is, one, right? I guess it's just had to be made from black grapes, but it can also be made from now the black grapes and white grapes together. It can be made from black grapes, Saignée bled off, and then half of it just direct pressed off, like a Blanc de Noir, that's still rosé. So there's really no unifying definition of defining what rosé is. And we'll talk more about this after tasting it, but you know, there's a lot of myths about rosés that I was trying to kind of examine this month, which is a lot of people, particularly here in the US, I've heard this many times, which is that more color the rosé has, somehow people have this idea that it's going to be sweeter or more fruity. It is true that you may get a little more fruit just because, you know, the longer time it spends on the skins, it's going to pick up a lot more aromas, but it does not necessarily mean that it's sweeter. As you can tell, like all four wines this month have been all bone dry. This one particularly, this one as well this month, this week, yet it is the darkest one. So color itself doesn't give you much indication of the sugar level as most people think, and as well as the kind of the production method, right? We've covered direct press, we've covered Saignée, we've covered co-ferment, but in the end, what really matters is how much time is spent on the skins rather than what production method that it necessarily went through, right? They all were kind of great examples of what they were, but yeah, just want to give an idea, you know, this idea that rosé can be made in many different ways, and it's all about really how much time spent on the skins, whether it be Saignée method, direct press, and all of that, because there tends to be a lot of this conversation about which method is superior, most superior. So, anyways, we can talk more about that after tasting it, but I just wanted to kind of put that out there before we get into tasting this, just kind of build a context around what it is that we're tasting today. And you decide, I mean, Cerasuolo is what they Abruzzo call rosé or rosato, which is rosé. But you decide, like to me, there's so much of this wine that drinks a lot like actual, what I would think of as a red wine. Like there's a body, there's texture, there's tannin, there's just so much of it that, I don't know. I tend to treat this more like a light red wine than a rosé, but we can talk more about it. And then you make up your mind as we taste it today. All right, on that note, who wants to take the appearance? Also, any questions about anything that I just went over before we get to tasting? Okay. Who wants to take the appearance?
I'll do it, Woong.
All right.
It took me a while. I'll say where you're going to do it, but yeah, whatever. Either one.
All right, Kyler and Margaret, you guys get the nose.
Sure. Okay, sure.
Oh, no, I can't do
She's stuffed up, but I'll do it.
it. My allergies are out of control.
Her allergies out of
I
control,
can't even
so.
breathe, let alone it's fine.
All right, Kirsten.
Okay, it's clear
Yeah, this one is clear.
and I don't know. I mean, it's somewhere between pale and medium. I mean, for like a red, it's on the pale side, but I wouldn't call it pale. Like I feel like pale is only like white lines.
Exactly, right? Like if we knew this was red wine and we got this, we would definitely call this pale. Like I can read everything on my keyboard through the middle here. But for like a rosé, right? Like it's not the lightest the color that we've had. So yeah, maybe it's medium if we're calling it rosé. So again, this is kind of stuff like, is this rosé? Is this red? Again. So yeah, somewhere between pale and medium, depending on what you're calling this. But let's just say we're gonna call this a rosé. So let's call this what? Medium, deep? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, for a rosé, it's almost on the deep side, but I feel like the intensity was deep. You wouldn't be able to see through it.
Right. Exactly.
Right. I don't know. It's confusing.
Yeah, exactly. See, this is the whole point. All right, color.
I mean, it's to me, it's a really red. I mean, it's like ruby.
Yeah. To me, this is more
Um,
ruby than any of that rosé color. Pink, salmon, orange. I mean,
Yeah,
I can
no,
see a
it's
little
not.
bit of like a orange hue on this thing, but yeah, to me, this more ruby, that like cherry red kind of color than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah,
Totally.
it looks
Uh,
like what's that like red the stuff you put in like Shirley Temples? What is it? Grenadine.
Grenadine.
Looks like
Yeah, yeah,
grenadine.
yeah. No, I think that's an excellent call. Yeah, this is like the perfect grenadine color. Exactly. Lighter, less intensity, less intense grenadine. Yeah, for sure.
Tastes much better though.
Any other observations?
Nope.
Yep. Excellent. Excellent. Good job. You good? Oh, next is Kyler and Margaret.
All right. Clean.
Yeah. This one's clean. This one is sound. Intensity.
Intensity, it's like it's not. I don't know. I feel like what you can't taste it.
I mean, I can actually smell it, so I feel like it's pretty.
It's not like blowing me out of the water. I was gonna say medium.
Right.
Maybe
Let me see. I smell it here, which is what is
Yeah.
that? Like? Couple inches. So I'm gonna call that medium plus. Yeah. I mean,
plus,
also, yeah. It also because I've tried this wine from fully chill to room temperature and anywhere in between. Right now, mine has been in the fridge for about 40 minutes. It's just so slightly chill. So it's a lot. I can tell that this is giving off a lot. When it was fully chill,
Actually, yeah, that actually might be the case because we left ours in the fridge all day, and then so it's colder than it probably should be. So that
yeah,
could be
so
part of it.
that's probably has something to do with that. Yeah. So yeah, this is giving a lot more than last time I had it, which was fully chilled. So yeah, right now I'm gonna call it medium plus, but if yours is really cold, yeah,
I can blame being outside in the wind just blowing everything away. So yeah.
nice. All right, medium plus intense aromas of. What do you get?
Yeah, like you could help me on this one.
I really wish I could.
I'm getting a red fruit. I feel, or maybe I don't know. Like,
Let's start from the top. Do you get any floral?
yeah, no floral, or not really getting floral. No.
Maybe like a little violet. I don't know. I mean, I really can't smell, so you shouldn't
Yeah.
listen.
I get a little.
There
I
might
get
be
a little
something
like,
there. Yeah.
yeah, I get like a little rose petal. You know, it may just maybe the color of it, power, suggestion. But like I get a little like a rose petal, something, not over the top, but like something like pretty. Any green fruit, citrus, stone fruit?
Not really.
Me neither. Tropical?
Yeah.
Nope. Red fruit?
No. This is where, yeah, I feel like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like strawberry, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I think this is where this wine lives, right here in the red fruit zone. It's like strawberry. I get like pomegranate. I get a lot of raspberry. I mean, it's like red fruit on red fruit, like this. To me, particularly the pomegranate part that really pops up to me. But yeah, the red cherry, even like, but yeah, strawberry, raspberry, red currant, pomegranate. I mean, all the red fruit. Any black fruit here?
I don't know. I still feel like it's heavy on the red fruit, but maybe there's something there. I don't know. It might could be a little bit.
I don't get much black fruit. Honestly, to me, as you said, this is all red fruit.
All red.
Yeah,
That's why I went when I went to it. Went straight to the red. That's why I was like feeling. So.
Yep. No, trust your guts. You're totally right. I totally agree with you. It's all red fruit. Nature of the fruit. Is it fresh? Is it ripe, overripe, underripe? You feel?
Yeah. I'm thinking. I think like fresh.
Yeah.
Fresh. Yeah. I don't know.
So this feels very fresh, super ripe, like just perfectly. There's nothing underripe about this. If anything, maybe like bordering on like going towards a like more riper side than an underripe side, but it's like fresh and ripe. Yeah, really, really like there's a little bit of jam too, like a little bit of cooked fruit here.
I was actually gonna say I'm getting jam. Like there's like that red fruit jam is kind of what that's where I'm living right now with it.
Yeah, I get some of that too, but in general, just very fresh, kind of a really ripe fruit. Any herbaceous, herbal, kind of like a savory kind of a thing going on here for you?
Not particularly.
Yeah, me neither. This is actually very kind of purely fruit kind of a thing. Any spices, any rocks?
Maybe a little pepper. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way it's coming off. I always feel like there's a little pepper there, but maybe not.
Yeah, to me, it sounded like this was spice, but I can get a little bit of like this kind of a rocky,
Yeah, maybe that's where
wet stone, like rock dust. There's a little bit of like a rockiness here, which I really enjoy. And now that I'm like going back to it for some reason, I get not a lot, but here I get a little bit of like the orangey, kind of like dried orange kind of a feel to it as well. But yeah, again, in general, this is where it is. Like 90% of this wine is right here.
I need to go smell some more wet stones, get my nose.
Yeah, you got to start licking stones.
It's
All right, any secondary, any tertiary?
Nope.
Yeah, neither. This is all right here. All in the primary, very fresh, very young, very youthful. Excellent. You get to pick the next person for the palette.
I'm gonna make Sarah and Andrew do it. Make them participate.
We're here.
I warned them it was coming.
All right, excellent. It's about time.
I know.
All right, sir.
This wine is dry.
This wine is bone dry. Not a touch of sugar on this thing. Acidity.
Medium.
I think it's pretty acidic, so at least medium, maybe medium plus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna call it medium plus on this one, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. Usually, Montepulciano di Abruzzo, you're rarely gonna find this much acid. It's just they're very extracted, much warmer. They ripen, hang a little bit longer. You usually don't get that. But the fact that you were able to get this much acid on this thing, again, giving the freshness, it's all about that elevation and where these guys are, and just their impeccable farming, honestly. I'm not a huge fan of Montepulciano di Abruzzo, as you can probably imagine. I find it oftentimes to be way too big and way too extracted. But when it's made like this, in a Cerasuolo style, with this much acid backbone, I can get behind that. So definitely medium plus acid for here. Tannin.
This one's hard because there's tannin, but it's not a lot like for a red.
Mm-hmm. All right, they call it rosato, so it's a rosé, but
so medium.
But there's definitely some tannin here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would call this like medium minus. I mean, it's not a lot. Again, like you said, medium minus, maybe even low on there. I'm gonna call this a medium minus. It's actually a little more than what I was thinking. So yeah, I'm gonna call this medium minus. But again, just to give you an idea of how rich in tannin, phenolics, Montepulciano, the grape variety is. Remember, we said this is half Saignée and half direct press. So only half of the grapes that are used in this bottle saw any kind of skin contact. Yet we're getting like this much tannin, calling it squarely medium minus. So imagine if the full 100% was skin contact and it was made into red wine where it's soaked for even longer, like how much tannin would be given off. So just to give you an idea of how tannic Montepulciano can get. So, but yeah, I'm gonna call this squarely medium minus. Even higher than medium minus. It's actually quite a bit of tannin here. Alcohol.
I cheated, so I know what it is. So I guess sort of medium plus.
13 and a half. 14. Okay. To me, it doesn't strike me as a 14. It doesn't feel that hot.
Yeah.
There's definitely some alcohol there, but it's not that hot. But so 14, we're putting in the like, yeah, lower in the medium plus kind of territory. But yeah, to me, this drinks like a 13 and a half, higher in the medium or the plus territory. Body.
I'm not good at this one.
About the milk.
Yeah, I guess medium,
Yeah,
2%.
I don't know.
2%, maybe, maybe medium minus. It doesn't, I don't know.
That's some weight. I mean, again, if 14% is real, right? Assuming that, you're rarely gonna find medium minus body 14%.
Okay.
Because you know, when the alcohol gets high, again, alcohol is glycol, or even if it was an all fully converted into alcohol, there's sugar, which is also gives viscosity. So anytime the sugar ripeness or the alcohol goes up, the body also goes up along with it. So this to me is at least medium. Like to me, this is almost hitting it like a higher in medium. I don't want to go all the way to medium plus, so I will end at medium here, but it's got some weight, and especially for like a rosé to have this kind of weight. You know, this is what I'm talking about. Like, I mean, that's why Cerasuolo has always been like one of my fun wines to have for like pairing reasons, because it's like a rosé, so it can be light and bright and fresh, but also it has tannin, body, and alcohol that it can like build up to like bigger food as well. But yeah, I'll call this at least medium, like bordering on medium plus here. Mousse we don't have to talk about. However, the second glass I just poured, I did get a little bit of dissolved CO2. I don't know if you guys got that.
Yeah, definitely have that.
Yeah. Which again, this is all tank, so there's no oxygenation that's happening here, so everything is very fresh coming out. So there's a little bit of dissolved CO2, little bit of crunch factor. Flavor intensity.
Medium plus.
Yeah.
Medium plus.
Agree. Nothing shy. This one. Do you confirm everything that Kyler and Margaret call that? Is there anything else?
I don't think we got a lot of floral, but the red fruits were strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, more and more. I don't think it, yeah. I called it rose earlier on the nose, but yeah, on the palate, you really, I'm going all the way to red fruit here. I mean, this is just a red fruit central here. All the strawberry, all the raspberry, particularly cherry, pomegranate, all of that. But yeah, in terms of the fruit quality though, this is where I differ a little bit. I'm noticing a little more. So there's a lot of ripe, a lot of freshness here too, but there's some little, not in a bad way, like, but in a like little candy, like almost a little like cough syrupy, kind of like, you know, red berry flavor going on here. So there's a little bit of like a cooked, little bit of that confectionery red fruit going on here that I'm picking up on the palate more so than I did on the nose. Yeah, any herbaceous, herbal, spice?
I don't. There seems to.
I'm not good at these either, so.
Yeah, to me, there's not a whole lot. Maybe I get a little more than I did on the nose. Maybe there's a touch of like a little vegetable, little green. But yeah, mostly we're talking about really red fruit here. You do get a little bit of minerality, a little bit of like the West Stone thing going on here.
Yeah.
But yeah, what we're talking about really here is a red fruit with some minerality thrown in is really what this wine is all about. Any secondary, any tertiary?
No.
Nope.
Yeah, me neither. How long is the life?
Pretty long. Medium plus.
Yeah. I don't know if we've ever drank a long wine, so I don't know what that is, but this is still with us.
Yeah. Yeah, it hits me with all the fruit at first. It's just all fruit and fruit and fruit. And then there's like a little bit of minerality. That's what I finished on. There's also a little bit of salinity here too. There's like a touch of saltiness here, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, like at the end.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm gonna call this medium plus as well. All right, bring it on up for us. How good is this wine? Justify it, and would you age it?
I'd say between good and very good, because we've got what do we start with?
Balanced? Do you think this wine is balanced?
Balance, yes.
Yeah. Concentration, what do we call that?
Medium plus.
Yeah, medium plus on the nose, medium plus on the palate. All right. Complexity?
Not that complex.
Decent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like nothing secondary, tertiary, it's all in the primary. Even within the primary, we call it a lot of red fruit, maybe touch of rose petals, some whetstone, a little bit of like, vegetable like green, fresh fruit, as well as a little bit of like the confectionery kind of a candied fruit as well. So a little bit of other things, but not super complex. I'll call that what? Medium? What would you call that?
Medium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then length.
Yeah, medium plus.
Yeah, you call that medium plus. So balance, medium plus intense, medium in complex, and then medium plus length. So we're landing somewhere between medium and medium plus, but closer to medium plus. So we're gonna call this
Very good.
very good. Would you age this?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think what's good about it is that it's fresh and ripe and
Exactly.
not overbearing.
Exactly. Cerasuolo is rarely ever aged. It's meant to be aged for a long time. I mean, yes, we have decent acid here, right? We call it medium plus. We have some tannin, right? For rosé, especially, it's not all lasting tannin. But what the point of Cerasuolo is this kind of freshness, kind of like the first harvest of the season, right? Like letting it all just kind of, you can taste what's happening while you're letting these big burly red wines to kind of age and mature and all of that. So this is all about freshness. It's all about capturing that moment. So yeah, I will not age this. I don't think it's gonna fall apart like within the next like couple of years. I think you'll be perfectly fine, especially given that medium plus acid level. I think like 2-3 years, I think it'd be perfectly fine to drink within that window. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about aging this. I say drink it now, enjoy that freshness. And maybe that 14% is right. Now that I'm feeling a little warmth, now that I've had a couple sips here. And it checks out Montepulciano can get pretty high in alcohol. It is naturally a pretty burly, alcoholic, high sugar content grape variety. So excellent job, everyone. Any questions? Any disagreements? Cool. Did you guys like this one?
Yes. When I first tried it, it came off like a little, like I was like, I mean, I knew it was dry, but I was like, I don't know, there's something like very sweet. Like I feel like we got like strawberry grandma hard candy, like one that's like, but and I think it's like, I don't know if it's like the finish or something, but I mean, I like it. It just like had a, like, I think the finish was short. I don't know. I feel like I was missing something.
Yeah. I forget what I put down as a pairing suggestion for this one. I don't know if any of you guys remember, but I actually think this would be a fantastic cheese wine. I just have a feeling that this would be great with cheese. All that fruit, all that flour, or not flour, but fruit, with a kind of like a salty kind of a cheese thing going on here. Yeah, I think it'd be good. So yeah, if this alone is not quite resonating with you, try it with a little cheese or the producer here. So here in Abruzzo, because they're so close to the ocean, the Adriatic Sea, they do what's called bordetto, which is like the regional dish, which is like just a lot of fish, a lot of seafood is eaten here. And he was suggesting, because half of this is made like a white wine, it's like a white wine, made like a white wine using red grapes, half of this, which is the direct press part. And then the other half is just kind of the color and the aromas. Is that this is fantastic with the fish. you know, and he even went out to as far as say, anytime you eat sushi anywhere in the world, drink this one. I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that statement. I just feel like there's a little too much fruit here, a little too much tannin here for it to be a sushi wine, but I haven't tried it with sushi, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to try it with sushi, but you know, the producer was pretty much kissing this as a kind of like a very fish oriented wine, which I'm like, but anyways, all to say is I think this is and I've always felt this way about Cerasuolo. It is one of the most fun wines to play with food because it has this body, the acid, but it also has this tannin and all this to hold up the bigger food, but the freshness of you would find one from rosé. So like this ranges quite a bit in terms of what you can do with it. So if it's not resonating with you tonight, wait and get some cheese, make some food, and then try again tomorrow. Really, nobody like disliked this wine? I'm surprised.
I don't love it. This is not my favorite type of wine. Super dry, super acidic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can see it because this is like, you know, it's almost if I serve this to somebody as like a light red wine, it will almost do better. If I serve this as, if I build the context of this as a rosé, people get really confused. They're like, what? Like, what is this? This doesn't make any sense. So, Andrew, I don't know if you're usually like a heavy red drinker. Like, I don't know what your usual go-to style is.
Yep, more of that lower acid, more the brambly type fruits, the black fruits.
Yeah, yeah. So then, like the fruit profile here, kind of gets you there, but the rest of it just does probably feels very short for you, right? So okay. Makes sense. Yeah, I've always thought I thought this was going to split the room a little more, so I'm actually a little surprised that you select that as much as or more number of you elected as much as I thought. All right, let's play everybody's favorite game. How much do you think this wine is on a retail shelf? How much would you be happy paying for this on a retail shelf? Abruzzo, not necessarily like the most prestigious region, right? It's very rural here, but very well-known producer from that region, well-respected. It's also Cerasuolo. It's not like meant to be a hugely aged, like, you know, long-keeping wine. 22, 24, 25, 25. This on a retail shelf would be just under $24, $23.75. So I think for $23.75, I think it's a perfectly reasonably well-priced wine. We called it very good. So yeah. Any questions? Cool.
Did you say that these producers make a Montepulciano, like the Abruzzo, like the red?
They make Trebbiano, they make Montepulciano. Yep.
Is it good? Can we
It
have
is
it in
good.
case?
I haven't tried this vintage, but I've tried his past vintages, and it's good.
I mean, maybe in Case Club if you can get it.
Yeah, okay, for sure.
I'd like to. Well, you said that they're a good producer of Montepulciano, so I'd like to try what you think is a good producer of Montepulciano.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like if you like that style of wine, right? Like, it's still a big wine. It has a little more freshness. It's not like, you know, if you have to go find like a Napa cab, well-made Napa cab, it's still big cab, but you know, it just has some freshness and all of that. So if you like that style of wine, then you should definitely try their Montepulciano. But if you're like a much more of like a delicate, lighter touch kind of red person, you're probably not gonna like their wine.
So my question is, you know, I know that there's an obligation, given this is made from white grapes, probably to call it a rosé, but I can't imagine that marketing this as a rosé is a successful plan, right? Because even a rosado doesn't taste anything like this. I like it, but if I had gone into a wine store or to a restaurant and asked for a rosé and you're giving me this, I would like, well, isn't this from Anjou? Or like, I mean, it feels like a Loire red that's super young or something like that. It doesn't feel like a rosé at all. And I
100% agreed.
I just don't
100%.
know why it's marketed as that. It's confusing.
It is, I think, just like, I said earlier this month, anywhere in the world where there's a lot of red wine production, you're going to find Saignée rosé, right? Same thing when you're talking about where like a Chinon or Anjou kind of, Cabernet Franc rosés, because there's a lot of red wine being made there. Saignée is bled off and then it's dark. It's the same thing here. With the main bread and butter is Untitled Chapter upwards of the big red wine. And then they just Saignée, they bleed this off. And just like this is what Italians do the best, they somehow lobby them to create a whole DOC just for that called Cerasuolo di Abruzzo, so it's basically a Saignée bled off portion of the Abruzzo, what normally would have been a byproduct of waste, and then they're calling it Rosato because they can't call it anything else. So
got it. Okay.
And it's in.
But I agree with you. To me, this is a much more successful wine to, again, build a context around it as a light red than a rosé. 100%.
And I noticed it's put in a green bottle rather than a white one, a clear one for rosé. Most rosés come in a white bottle.
No, I mean that can be done in any way, but yeah, that's also an excellent point. Like with the rosés, yeah, you don't rarely ever see it in a green bottle. Yeah. So, and this is another thing that I was saying earlier. Like, hopefully, this goes to show that like color doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the dryness of the wine, like what to expect, and I don't know if for you, maybe Saignée versus direct press versus a co-ferment are such distinctive style differences for you. But to me, rather than that, it's really the amount of time the wine, the must has spent on the skins is what matters, rather than the method of how it's made. So yeah, so those are some of the common myths I feel like that exist around rosé. I was hoping that I could help to facilitate to break some of those myths. But yeah, like all 4 wines this month were all bone dry, yet they range in terms of color, from that Provençal, very light touch blush rosé all the way to what we're calling pretty much a red wine here. So, what was you guys' favorite from this month? Just out of curiosity.
Mine was the second week. I thought that was delicious.
Second week, Laosa from Leon, Castille Leon.
I know. I have to look up the picture.
Yeah, it is
It was great.
Yeah, I like that one quite a bit. It's so savory. I like that one. Yeah. Anyone else? Also,
I don't think I've got to the first week yet, so I need to go back. But yeah, I mean, I liked last week. I liked the second week. This one is very interesting.
Yeah,
it's just not a rosé.
Yeah. I mean, Italians call it rosato, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, but this is the whole thing. So
no, I don't. I'm no judgment. I like it.
Yeah. Where does rosé end and where does red begin? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Well, that's our philosophical question for today.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys can settle it at Wine Prom before I arrive and fill me in. Is that fair?
There you go. There you go. Also, did this also help this month in any way in terms of like, I don't know. I feel like rosé is this kind of like nebulous, undefined, big category that everybody doesn't really understand. Like, did this month kind of give you some like help and guidance in terms of I don't know, thinking about rosé, help you find more about like how to find a rosé that you have a better chance of liking in a store? In terms of like if you're gonna go in there or something.
It did, but it still there's nothing you can do, right, about how rosé is marketed. And again, like, you know, it's like the fact that it's like everything is just like, and then here's like all of the rosés are in their own section.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I mean, even like, you know, Dave and Phil have said it sort of like this is like basically a light red, and it's sort of in the bottling, right? That would like I would just like again if this was like just in the Italian section or whatever, right? Of the shop, like I would look at it and I would look at it and I would say, oh, this put the bottle up to the light, be like, it's a light red, right? And kind of call it a day. Maybe I would get, but like but sometimes in the rosé section though, you see things that are very dark, right? And it's also like some of those are good, some of them are bad.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's like finding the regions and the producers, you know, and that's still where I struggle a little bit. And also, I mean, I do feel like generally my tolerance for like bad rosé is probably slightly lower than some of my tolerance for other, right? Like kinds of wine. We were just like, whatever, it's a rosé. Like
yeah,
it's gonna hit all these points, right? Like it's you know, it's gonna have some tannin, it's gonna have some like lightness, it's gonna have some citrus, it's gonna have all these fun things. And usually they oftentimes check those boxes, but like if like what you're looking for is like this actual like really nice balance between all of these nice things, like that's actually a little bit more of like
yeah. I mean, I think you showed us 4 really nice rosés that I would like to drink again, but I don't know that I'm any better at navigating the rest.
I mean, it's true. I mean, it's notoriously a hard category, I feel like, for consumers in America to approach. It's just like there's no real one, as we were talking about, there's no definition of what a rosé is, right? So when someone says rosé, what are you talking about? Are you talking about this? Are you talking about that Provençal style blush rosé? Are you talking about cold ferment? Like, what are we talking about, right? And to Julia's point, like it is just like everything's thrown into just one bucket called rosé. Yet there's just like so many wide ranging styles. So it's just very difficult. It was more I was hoping that just by kind of noticing different places where it comes from, different climate, different styles, that may help you guide you next time you're in a store. You're like, listen, I tend to like, you know, much cooler climate, higher acid, like sharper rosé. Or maybe you're a completely other way. Like I really like the ones that are kind of like blur that line between red and a white and
no, that's true. That's true.
Body and all of that.
And sometimes it's sort of knowing what you want, where it's just like there's a time when you want the really light acidic, you know, or whatever, or the and then it's sometimes you're just like, I want basically like one step up from a chillable red, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's stuff like that. That's Spanish rosé we had. I think it was week 2. Like I really liked.
But
it is not like, I wouldn't say it's typical of like
not at all.
Like what I like is good rosés, right? It's hard to just say that, you know.
Hey, can I have one that doesn't suck?
Yeah, it's fair. That's fair. Sorry, Alice, I feel like you were trying to say something. Then I cut you off.
They did, and I'm so angry that I can't say it anymore.
Heard. Noted.
I don't have any idea what I was going to say.
Okay.
It was going to be something banal. I mean, I do think that I would enjoy most rosé less if it didn't look as pretty as it does. Like, I think that my enjoyment of rosé, whether it is good or bad wine, has a lot to do with the aesthetic of it.
Like the bottle itself or the color of the...
I think it's the color and like
Yeah.
in the glass, and it looks so pretty.
Yeah.
It just looks prettier than most white wine, and so that's like a thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I very often like crave the taste of most rosé in the way that
Okay.
like sometimes I would really like
Yeah.
Beaujolais, or I'd really like some of those gosh, one of those white wines that I really liked, that the Oregon producer, that they make them in the cement eggs. Big Love, Big Salt. Ovum, yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm like, oh, that's what I want. I just really want
Yeah.
that, you know, that
Yeah.
taste. And I don't have that many rosés where I'm like, I just want to drink that and have that taste. But there's very often like it's beautiful weather and I want to have a cool glass of something delicious. And I, you know, listen, maybe it's vapid, but the aesthetic is a big part of that.
Okay.
You know?
All right.
I'm not proud of that, but I think it's true for me.
No judgment here. Hey.
Yeah.
It's all part of
I
the
think it's
experience.
I'm a little bit the same in that it's not so much the aesthetic, but I'm not really a big white wine drinker. I mean, I would drink red wine all day, every day, but when I'm someplace and it's hot out and I want something cooler to drink, then rosé fits the bill for me.
Yeah.
And I actually like this like chillable red is you know, if I could drink red all the time, I probably would be happy about that. And I could, but sometimes red feels too heavy for a hot day.
100%. Yeah.
And
Like
so
you're
this
not.
is like it's still a red grape. Like it's
Yeah.
still, you know, so I'm still getting my red, but but it's cold. So
I
I
feel
like
like
them all.
this.
I'm the same as Dave. We haven't drank the first bottle. We've
I
missed
haven't
like
either.
this is the only one we've been on. I think this month because of our schedule, but we've drank most of them except for the first one, and I like them all. They've all been good.
Yeah, I feel like this is the kind of wine that either, you know, pleases both a red wine drinker and a white wine drinker, or another way to look at it is pisses off both sides. They're like, what the, it's not quite red enough for it to be a, you know, to like it for a red drinker, but it's not quite white enough for a white drinker to like it. But you know, it's that weird, like really weird in between. But to me, that's a part of the fun of it. So.
And I feel like we've maybe talked about this at some point, but like the sort of in the US at least, but maybe this is also sort of globally, like the perception of rosé, because like I feel like for a long time, and I mean again, I think it's probably because like of what was just like coming into the States. Like it was sort of like rosé is trash. Like and then we kind of did a 180 a little bit, right? Where like it was like rosé is trash for a really long time. And then I remember like I was like wine tasting in like New Zealand in 2008 and they were like, guys, like it's okay. Like rosé can be okay. Like rosé can be tasty. Like try this rosé.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is like, I'm like, are you giving me boots for? I'm like, what is this? And then it was delicious. But like, I feel like it took a while. And then suddenly it was like, not only was it like, hey guys, rosé is okay. But then it was like rosé, you know, and then it's like rosé all day, right? Like there was a real switch. And was that like a marketing thing? Was that just like people realizing that rosés don't have to be terrible and that like what all of the above?
No, I think you make an excellent point. So there are two things that I'm hearing here. One, but to me, they're like two kind of separate phenomena. The first one is this idea of rosé is trash, it's all fucking terrible. And I honestly think it all began with White Zinfandel. The beginning of so much of American wine consumerism, the White Zinfandel, right? It's kind of sweet. It's this, you know, it's rosé, it's that blush color, and people just associate rosé with sweet, like overly sweet, just kind of fruity juice, essentially, that gives you a terrible headache, right? So, and then they just thought all rosés are like that. But then came this phase where Provençal rosé just made a huge splash on the scene. It was everywhere. All the celebrities are making it, Brad and Angelina were making it. You know, the Whispering Angel came out. That was a huge hit. Like all these things happened, and then that became kind of the style, that like blush, made in a warm climate, places where like, you know, and so everybody was making that style. Like it's just like it wasn't necessarily about quality, but it was just quantity. You know, because it's, you know, and you can make it, you know, cooler climate rosés are much harder to make because again, it's hard to ripe the grapes there. But when you grow in a warmer place, you can grow a shit ton of it. So it's just like flooded the market, and everything came in. So everything started just tasting exactly, no matter where it came from, it just tasted that Provençal style, blush kind of style of rosé, and that was what like dominated the market for a long time. And to tell you the truth, to this day, like to this year, there are only two categories that have consistently grown, even through the pandemic, even through all the recessions, all through time, that have continuously grown in America, and it's sparkling and it's rosé. And so rosé, that style of rosé has never gone away. It's like they just kind of rebranded. The millennials and Gen Z started rosé, and it became kind of fun. And I get that part. But all this time, there were actually people who've been making rosés really, really well, and then taking a great care and patient to make it well. And just in general, it's not just rosé. I think the American wine consuming public is getting smarter and more savvier and wiser. It's just we're spending, and data bears that out. Like we're spending less money. We're buying less quantity of wine, but we're spending just the same amount of money.
Are we? I mean, we as a collective, because I am buying more. Like I feel like as I get,
you may be the outlier.
I'm not. It's like I'm an N of one, but
yeah, you're the one who's fucking up the curve. But,
do you think that the growth of that rosé also helped orange wine? I mean, otherwise, orange wine might never have happened if rosé hadn't have made it.
That's an interesting question. I want to say stylistically it's so different that it's, I don't know, without rosé, would the orange have caught on? I mean, rosé was around long before rosé, orange as a whole has been around longer than anything else, right? Like the Georgian wines were made that way. But in America, that craze, that popularity of amber orange wine, would that have existed without rosé? I don't know. I almost feel like that it's just like a new frontier. That's like the new thing that people are looking for. There's always a new place. Where do we go? What is the new style? What's a new thing? And then I feel like orange wine became, especially as natural wines started getting really popular, orange wine just became that kind of like poster child for natural wine movement, kind of rode that wave. And then all the hipsters in Williamsburg and Brooklyn started pounding all these orange wine, and it just became a thing.
But I think it's helpful in terms of being like, it doesn't have to be a, I mean, I think it's more because I do feel like we're like in the US for like a while, it was like, you're just like, you're in the structural white, rosé, red.
Yeah.
And again, it's like nice to know, like to explore the rosé spectrum. Yeah. But that also, I feel like that's where it also invites like orange wine in a little bit too. Like that it's, you know, that it's just like, it's okay to be either or, neither nor, you know, like.
And I think people have a lot of stereotypes about rosés and the people who drink rosés.
Yeah.
You know, the people think they're like, I don't know, just. I think there's a lot of gender component there too. They're like, this is it's a girl drink.
My a few of my cherished current and former au pair and friends were at some wine thing. They went out to like Virginia. And they were like, oh, Allison, you would have hated it because the wine was bad, probably. But also there were like wine people like you there. And I was like, oh, tell me more. And they were like, they kept talking really loudly about how rosé was so bad. And we were confused because you like rosé. And I was like, those are not real. Those are like fake wine people. And also anyone who's speaking so loudly and negatively about the wine so that you can tell is not doing it right. but I explained to them that rosé is not bad. It just is a stereotype and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Thank God they have me in their lives to guide
I
them.
know. Look at you spreading the gospel.
Two of them, I opened the bottle. I don't know if you even remember this, but the bottle of Chenas from last year. That's like as absolutely funky as I can get before it's too much.
Yeah.
And they loved it. They they loved it so much. And I was like, I am so sorry because you are in your 20s and too poor to drink like $35 wine, but you can drink it in my house. I don't know. I wasn't drinking stuff like that when I was in my 20s.
Oh,
it was
100%.
100%. Yeah.
No.
I wasn't drinking that when I was in my 40s.
I will say tonight was Kevin's last. Oh, we're still recording. Hi, recording.
All right.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's fine. No one said anything inappropriate.